I was shocked that he even said this because not only did Gettleman have it right as far as his athletic ability, as far as his leadership on and off the field, he has shown just to be a really poised human being. In high school, his classmates talked about what a different person he was as an athlete, not a prima donna. In Penn State, it's well documented. In the weight room, holds almost every record. Explosive exercises, holds almost every record in the weight room. And last year, we saw him, as far as interviews, we saw him on the field. He's got no weakness. He's got no weakness. As a young player, he's the leader of the New York Football Giants, even though Eli is the quarterback. To me, I'm a little surprised that he said this because he doesn't have to say it. He's in the second year in the league. He's in a rare class as far as rookies with 2,000 yards from scrimmage. Him, Edgerrin James, and Dickerson. Those are the only three. He's one of three.
With 2,000 yards from scrimmage and 10 touchdowns.
And 10 touchdowns. So right there, he knows he's rare. Let your play speak for yourself. And him saying that, it doesn't match all the other things he's done or other things he's not said. So for me, just slow down just a little bit because that doesn't add up. If you had asked one of the other running backs, if they had said that, I wouldn't be surprised. If Zeke said that, if L. Bell had said that, Todd Gurley, I would have been a little surprised because he's quiet also.
Well, and so whether I see his point that it seems a little more boastful than we're used to from this player is a fair one, but I also don't think he's wrong. I think that Zeke has an argument. He's the best running back in football, but Zeke right now is out of the country. So at least temporarily we can scratch him off. Todd Gurley, to me, was the guy, but I'm legitimately concerned, and I think a lot of people are, about Todd Gurley's knee. So until we see Todd Gurley play 4, 6, 8 healthy weeks of football post-Super Bowl, I think we can scratch him off the list temporarily. And Le'Veon Bell was right there and on that short list, but Le'Veon Bell hasn't played football in a year. Now, I think Le'Veon Bell's going to be excellent again. I don't think the year off is going to have turned him into an inferior player, but we got to see him play. Sure. And what Saquon did last year was special. C mentioned rookies with 2,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. He had 5.8 yards per touch. That's the most by any rookie with at least 350 touches since the merger. Only Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Zeke, Gurley, Christian McCaffrey, and Alvin Kamara had more first downs last year. And that might be the most important thing other than touchdowns you can do in this league, move the chains. And he did it on an offense that was very constricted, that wasn't getting a whole bunch of first downs, that was bottom 3 in the NFC in first downs, and he got 80 by himself. So I do think Saquon has, it's very short, but the resume to make the argument, yeah, I'm the best back in football, even if it is a little surprising to hear him say it because of, I mean, he sat here or via video and talked to us, and we were all taken aback by, you're 22 years old, how poised, how mature, how down to earth he was. But I don't think he's wrong in his statement.
How much will the quarterback situation in New York affect Saquon Barkley, whether it is Eli or Daniel Jones?
I don't think it's going to affect him too much because the defense is right now, for the Giants to beat them, they're going to have to be able to throw the ball. They're going to put bodies at the line of scrimmage. Now, they had OBJ for part of the season last year. That was able to keep some of the heat out of the box where he had less people to be able to run against. But no matter who the quarterback is of the Giants, I don't care who. They can bring back Phil Simms or any other great that they think they have. Stop. Saquon Barkley will be the game plan from week number 1 and will be the game plan week number 17 because they won't be in the playoffs after that. So, yes, stop the Giants. You must stop their running game regardless of who their quarterback is.
To me, it's less about the quarterback and more, at least in the beginning of the season, about their just paucity of weapons in the wide receiving corps. Golden Tate's hurt. Golden Tate's suspended. They've had a couple injuries. And so while they already were more focused on the running game than the passing game if you're facing the Giants, that first month of the season, I would imagine every wide receiver is going to be getting one-on-one matchups with 7 and 8 men in the box.
So more focus placed on Saquon.
100%, because not that Golden Tate is a deadly weapon, but he's a viable threat. But he's not going to be out there for a month. We've talked about their other injuries.
When he gets on the field, they could be 1-3 at best.
Right, and so so for the first month of the season, he's going to be facing stacked boxes all year, particularly that first month of the season. I would hope it's feasible. 28 quarterbacks did it last year. 30 times a game in 2019 is not a large number. I mean, it is the league average for quarterbacks is well north of 30 as far as attempts per game. Now, I understand for Lamar, he was well underneath that, but about how many offensive plays are there going to be in a
65.
game? 65. So even if he's throwing it 30 times, you still got 35 rushing attempts to 40 rushing attempts to account for. So if he can't throw around 30 passes a game, then I would imagine he's not making the progression that he and the Baltimore Ravens hoped he would make between year 1 and year 2. What they did last year was very effective, but it was not sustainable. You can't have you said 16 times per game?
Yep.
That needs to be cut nearly in half. 10 times per game is the upper limit of what is realistic for any quarterback in this league, no matter what type of athlete they are. So he's going to have to cut that down significantly. Even with the addition of Mark Ingram, they're not going to be able to hand the ball to running backs 50 times a game. So he's going to have to throw the ball around 30 times a game over the course of the season.
Yeah, I don't care how many times he's going to throw the ball because it's about winning the game, time of possession. That's what they were able to do last season when he came in. I think week number 11 after he came in, them in New England dominated in the NFL time of possession. But my concern is, why did he say this? Why did he say it in the interview? Like, you don't gain any advantage by saying, hey, man, you guys ran the ball an awful lot last year. How much you going to throw it? All he had to do was say, we're going to throw it more. I can guarantee you that. And more wouldn't have to be. It could be 25 times a game, 22 times a game. Don't tell them you're going to throw it 30 because you're setting yourself up now for a bunch of sound bites. And just like Nick said, if the first few games you don't throw it 30 times, we come back and say, hey, why aren't you throwing it 30? You know the reason why? Because you're not throwing it real good. And he set himself up for a lot of criticism or a standard to not live up to. And whatever you're doing in your meetings, don't tell the general public. You can get around that. You don't have to. You're not doing your fans a service by telling them, you know something, I'm going to be throwing the ball 30. We're going to see how many times because we're going to be charting it. So don't take away the advantage that you might have, especially starting the season.
And speaking of charting it, if you look at where Lamar was successful and not successful throwing the ball last year, because his completion percentage and his passer rating were actually probably better than a lot of people thought when you look at the full scope of the season. But where he was really bad and where he must improve is passing to the boundary. He only threw 46 total passes last year to the boundary, to the outside. It was 4 yards per attempt, only 10 total first downs on those passes, only 1 touchdown. That's where he was successful. Short and intermediate, particularly over the middle or between the hash marks. He's got to get better at that. I understand that's a more difficult throw. I understand that's something that a lot of quarterbacks have to get better on, but that is something where, if I know it, defenses know it, that he showed a total inability to throw to the outside last year. If he is going to get it up around 30-ish pass attempts per game, more than 2 a game are going to have to go to the outside as they did last year.
The way we talk about Cam Newton and his new approach to not just relying on his athleticism, but relying on fundamentals. Is it similar to Lamar and having to not just rely on your speed that got you here and that you were so successful with you being able to run in college, but being able to throw, make it not just a one-read offense, just be able to have that patience in the pocket?
Well, my commentary is going to be a little bit different. I'd like to be balanced, but this kid is special running the ball. And I know we like our quarterbacks to be pocket quarterbacks, but when you get special runners with the ball, if they're at quarterback, are we really doing what's best for them by just forcing them to be in a pocket passer? So they say, well, you got to be a pocket passer to win a Super Bowl. Everybody out there ain't trying to win a Super Bowl. How can I win games? How can I get my team into the playoffs? How can the Baltimore Ravens win their division? So for me, he's a special runner. Yes, I'd like to be able to see it be 50-50 as far as run with the pass, but ultimately I'm willing to be a little more patient because he's special. There is no other runner at quarterback like him. Cam doesn't have the quickness. No. He doesn't have Cam's body size. But ultimately, yes, his throwing motion is going to have to improve. He's going to have to throw the ball to all parts of the field. But in this first 2 to 4 year window, I don't care if he runs the ball. No need to protect your body when you don't even know if you're going to be a franchise quarterback. So win games, Get your team on the winning bus. That, to me, is the most important thing for Lamar Jackson right at this stage of his career.
And it would be foolish. The Ravens would not have drafted him. I know it was the end of the first round, but in the first round, if not for his running ability. They knew that the passing was going to be something of a slow build, which is why, again, maybe you shouldn't have said the specific number, but he didn't say I'm going to throw it 40 times a game. 30 times a game is a totally reasonable number. 28 quarterbacks did it last year. But running is going to be an enormous part of whatever success he has, certainly early in his career and maybe throughout. I mean, there are some similarities stylistically to Michael Vick. And Michael Vick, running always had to be a threat the defense had to account for. It gives him easier passing lanes when the defense has to use a guy to spy on the quarterback, to be worried about the quarterback taking off and running. So he can't remove that from his game. It's just 16 rushes a game is a crazy, historic high number.
We watch New England every week, and before they kick it off, Jenna asked me, what are they going to do, Chris? I don't know. And the element of surprise in football can still be there. You can force teams to, you know something? I didn't know they were going to run it that many times. They try to adjust at halftime. Then you have another game plan coming out of halftime. Don't give away the trade secrets. Don't tell people. It's not going to help your career. You're not going to make friends. And your coaches and your teammates are looking at you like, why'd you tell them that? It's totally unnecessary.
See, what ended the Ravens season last year? A surprise defense. The Chargers coming out and playing 8 defensive backs, something they hadn't seen and they weren't prepared for. That speaks to that point.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.